care. Oh my.
I know. I'm ginormous. That's all this do.
You can turn.
Oh, thank you.
Just click the thing next to the microphone at the top.
That's off.
Okay. Good.
Microphone's off. So
Oh yeah, she should put the microphone.
as long as everyone has their mic off, should be good.
Where is everyone going right now?
Mute your microphones.
I'm on the
I'm
Slack.
gonna get an off line.
There's a Google Hangout.
I didn't copy Eve's email.
Thanks.
I couldn't mute him. How you doing?
Good.
All right, I'm gonna just turn this over to you. If that's all right. We all individually went on our own machines. We just thought it'd be easier.
All right, sounds good. Are you guys all in class right now, or are you guys all at home?
Yeah, no, we're all in class.
Okay, cool.
Let's see if it works. Okay. I think it's all you.
Cool. So is this Mike that's talking right now?
It's Darren. Sorry.
Darren. Okay, cool. Just Awesome.
Did you get me in the chat? Because I'm going to get off this mic so it's muted. So that's all it is. Okay.
We mentioned it in the big.
There's a weird lag going on.
Okay. What kind of lag is it?
Oh, I'm good now, I think. Can you guys hear me all right?
You guys all hear?
Yeah, but it's not good.
Is it better now? I just
Is that better,
actually,
guys?
Is it actually better?
They're saying yes.
Okay. Just making sure. Unfortunately, I don't have a wired connection, but usually our Wi-Fi is really good here, so it should be an issue. But let me know if there's any issues, and we'll deal with it along the way, I guess. I'll try to speak louder too.
We're all wireless too, so.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if you guys run into any issues, just type in the chat window on the side there, and I'll make sure that I don't jump ahead too far.
Sure.
So,
I think we just lost power in our suite, so we're still
did
working.
ya?
So yeah. That's okay. Backup.
Are you guys having some bad weather there today? Because over here it's actually really crappy.
Yeah, not yet. I think it's en route, but.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Apparently, it's better now that the power's gone out. So.
All right. So so we have everybody here. So we got Matt, Jake, Faye, Darren, Darian, Carol, Brian, AJ. Correct?
Yeah.
That's the crew. Okay. Cool. Today I'm basically going to so the way this transpired is I met up with Gavin in Toronto a few weeks ago, and he was telling me that I think I don't know if you guys remember, but I met you guys at Startup Empire in Halifax, and so I kind of gave you a bit of our story at that stage, and I reached out with Gavin, and sort of he told me that you guys were doing some amazing stuff, and you guys had some pretty awesome class there. So and that you guys the next step, I guess, was to learn a little bit about wireframing techniques. So I figured what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start off by just kind of talking a little bit about the way I do it, and it's not necessarily the best way, and it's not necessarily but it's worked out really great for us, and it's I've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing some form of wireframing now for since like 1999, so I do have some experience, and there definitely wasn't all the tools back in the day that that you guys have today to work with. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to show you some examples, and at the end, if we have enough time, I will get Mike, our designer, to kind of show you a little bit of how he does the interpretation of the wireframe. So our Mike Hansen, he's an amazing designer. So the example that I'll actually show you guys is the newly redesigned Indiegogo website. And if you're not familiar with Indiegogo, they're basically a different version of Kickstarter, and they've raised over $50 million, and they're a really awesome company. But Mike was generous enough to share the wireframing documents, the mood boards, and things like that that give you an insight of how those larger companies do it. Everyone cool with that? So weird to just like have like no one sort of talking back to me. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Also, feel free, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute and interrupt me along the way. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have, and we'll leave some time for Q&A. Feel free to also ask questions in the chat window. I'll keep an eye on that. So, all right. So, as I mentioned, I've been doing this for a long time. My biggest thing that I think that I've learned over the years is to really wireframing is one of the most important things that you can do when you start planning your next application or the software that you're going to build, because it prevents you from doing costly mistakes. It also helps everyone being on the same page. So it's actually one of the critical things, and I'm glad that I'm seeing that in the last few years that there's been other companies that have been, there's been some great product and great advances made in that because people realize how important it is. The biggest thing, and I'll make sure that I share some, when I'm going to share some stuff visually after, I'll make sure, okay, perfect. All right. The number one thing you need to do when you wireframe is you really need to understand your end users. Like you have to know who you're designing for. So even if you're designing for everyone, you're never designing for everyone. There's always going to be an audience that's going to be more specific to your product or to your application that you're going to do. So the best thing you want to do is understand and determine who you're going to design for. What level of understanding do they have? Are they people that should have a general good sense of how technology works? Are they comfortable on computers? Are they mostly people that have worked around email and social networks all their lives? So understand how they're, who your end user is would be the number one most important thing that you can do. And I would say afterwards is look for, once you've done that, is look for other companies who have products that cater to similar audiences. So look for competitors, potential competitors, how what their products look like. See what you like about it, what you don't like about it. But really understand, like, if you're going to go and compete against someone, you need to understand their products inside out and know what you think is good about it and what's not good about it. And the other thing about wireframes is that there's different purposes for wireframes. And I'm going to show you this right out. This is the first thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the wireframe of the product that we've currently built, and this wireframe was built like over 2 years ago. So a lot of it has evolved since, but you'll also notice that a lot of the core functionality of it has remained the same because we've done a really good job at that. But understand the audience, because sometimes you want to create a wireframe in a presentation format to convince a potential investor, a potential buyer of your product. Those wireframes need to look professional. They need to have a little bit more style and substance to it. But there's also the times where you just want to wireframe something to pass on to one of your designers so that they understand how the product works. At that point, you've already established a design, a style and feel for what you're doing. So the importance at that point is basically it can be just like hand sketched sort of boxes that show you what the next screen is going to look like. Your designer already has a general theme that he or she is working off of, and at that point, you can just like pump those out really fast. So what I'm going to show you today is a little bit of both cases, and I'll show you the tool that I'm using, how I work with it. There's a lot of I'll give you some options for other ones as well that you can try. It's really a question of preference. And question of, again, who you're designing it for. So if you're designing for internally for yourself and it doesn't need to be fancy, then you can do it with some very basic tools. Even paper and pen and paper works too. If you're designing it where you're trying to show maybe almost a functioning prototype of your product to get that investor's money or get that commitment from someone, at that point, you may want to use a combination of tools that are a little bit more elaborate that can actually let you input some of your styling into the wireframe. And also, what's really important is understand the primary platform you're going to be designing for. Back in the day when I was originally designing in the late 90s, I'm that old, so in the late 90s, when I was originally designing, our biggest issues at that time was, connectivity speeds. Browsers had a lot of limitations. I was designing back in the day for Netscape, which probably some of you had never had to work with that atrocity. So those were some of the limitations. There's no mobile. Smartphones wasn't even a word at that time. So there was a. Oh, there's Mike coming in now. This is Mike. Mike's our designer.
Hey,
So Mike, I'm just kind of setting up the intro, and then.
does everybody have their own Google Hangout?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All the students do.
Yeah, they're all there. So
Okay.
there's 8 of them, I think. So I'm gonna basically kind of shut, and then after, if you want me to get you back, if you want to stick around, it's up to you.
I'll sit around.
Cool. Yeah.
I won't be in there.
Yeah. So Michael will talk a little bit about how he works with those wireframes after. So yeah. So to go back, so understand the technology. If you're designing mostly, if your app is going to be mobile first and desktop sort of secondly, then focus on that. Or if it's going to be everything across the board, then make sure you cover all of it. But understand the technology that you can design for and what those limitations are, because all of them, even though today there's been some huge advances in the different platforms and how they work and such, there's still limitations within all of those. So you want to understand that, and also do your best to understand what are sort of the design principles that are out there. They've changed a lot over the years. They've evolved for the best, I would say. Thankfully, if you want to look at one of the primary reasons that MySpace may not be around anymore would probably have to do with the lack of good design principles. So really understand like how things have evolved at that stage. And the other thing, that's probably the first thing I'm going to show you, and I know you guys want to see stuff more than my face, which I don't blame you, would be do a diagram of how your whole application is going to work. So before you start designing screens and before you start focusing on how it's going to look and how it's going to work, make a diagram of how all the main sort of interactions between your users are going to be. Is it one user group? Is it 2 audiences? Is it and that's going to sort of paint the overall picture of what you need afterwards for both sides for all of your wireframes. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen here, and then if you guys can just let me know, either you can unmute or just let me know on the right side if you guys can see it, because it's gonna be a wild guess at this point. Let's see, I have a bunch of screens ready to show you guys, but I'm gonna start with. Sorry, there you go. Start screen sharing.
Yeah,
So
we got
you guys can see that? Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. So this is what it was originally. This is what this product was originally called. It was originally called Skills Match, which is not very innovative or not very sort of, but it was basically Project Skills Match. And what we had to do for this one is we basically had to, because we were trying to get the government, which was our original audience for the product, to buy into it, we actually went out and we designed every single screen and how it was going to work prior to even coding anything, doing any type of. It's probably overkill in a sense, but we understood that government. They hopefully there's no government people around your offices right now. I don't mean to insult them, but they tend to like things on paper and they tend to like a lot of details. So we knew that that's the type of audience that we had to prepare for. So what we were looking for is we were looking for financial commitment on their part prior to coding anything. So what we've done is we built this design document, which is actually kind of makes me puke in my mouth a little bit because it's so much information that it's a little bit too much. But we did a whole outline of how every single screen was going to function and what every single action was going to. So I'm just going to skip this down to this one. So this is the overall diagram that I was talking about of how information was going to be inputted. So basically what we did is I'm just making sure this is good. Yeah, so basically, we looked at where all the inputs and outputs were going to come from and what the main sort of like the main features of each of those for each of those audiences. So as you can see, we had the employer side that could go in. we had the applicant side that could go in and create certain actions, and then we had the administrative side. And the things that you see in the boxes are the ones that we knew that we had to really show them how that would work, because those were the main components. And then we just kind of outlined the platforms that it was going to function off. So primarily for us was web, and then was to build extensions on the smartphones and tablet side. I'm actually not sure. Let's see when this is dated. I think just to kind of give you a, yeah, 2012. So that's how far back this one goes. So if I go back down here, this is all blah 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 because they like blah blah blah. You can see that we're starting to have a bit of an outline of what. So this was originally created in OmniGraffle. It's a tool that's been around for a long time. I've used it mostly out of comfort and knowing that I didn't have to really build any interactions for them. And then what we've done, and I'll show you a more complex screen because these are just login screens. But I showed the step 2 of creating an account, which we've completely scrapped because this was too much information that we're asking for. So I'm just going to go down to. Yeah, so this will probably give you an idea of so this is what we built as the original prototype, and this is what Mike actually used to design our initial, our first version of our product. So it's not very, for me it's not very nice, but for the people that were making decisions on the government level, they were blown away by this. They thought this was the nicest looking thing they've ever seen. Yeah. So the 6 steps are still very much there today, like the way we built it out. Some of the functionality is in, some of it's been taken out because we felt it was unnecessary. But we've basically, what we've done is we've outlined what it would look like, and then on the secondary screen, where you see all the little bubbles here, 1, 2, 3, is we actually outline what every the description of what those things were going to be. So, and we've done that we went through and we did that for every single step, which again was probably overkill, but we figured if we're going to justify the investment that they were going to make, that we wanted them to have absolutely no reason to doubt that we could pull this off. So again, we'll keep going down. Features, again, item 1, item 2, item 3. I'll actually zoom in a little bit on this because it's kind of small. Skills helps the user define themselves. So I mean, it's just basic description of those actions and why those features and why they're there. And so as you can see, there's 105 pages of this. Or maybe, yeah, you can see it. So I'll take this away. Okay. Yeah. So that's what we've done. And what this allowed us to do is this allowed us to secure a commitment from the province of New Brunswick for total is going to be, over $400,000 in actual. This was all agreed upon prior to us building anything, coding anything, and it set expectations for everybody to be on the same page. I have zero regret of doing it. But I think there's more efficient ways of doing it nowadays. At the time, this is the tool I was the most comfortable with, and that's why I mentioned that I don't have any just like Mac or PC. I don't judge. So whatever you guys want to use that you're comfortable with. The main thing is the main thing that you want to look for in a tool is how can you quickly create assets, duplicate them. Create interactions that are simple but useful. So those are the things you want to look for. So so I'll show you a few tools and you guys can choose whatever you want. So that's the extreme level. So I'm going to go back and just show you, this is what it looks like right now, and I'll show you what our actual application looks like. So I'll show you one of these steps here. So if I go, I'm going to share a different screen now with you, and I'm actually going to show you what? I have too many windows open. Where is it? I think it might be this one. This one. Sorry about that. I'm just gonna. Well, that was not the one to share. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to open it in a different browser so it'll be obvious. Okay. All right, let's see if I fix this. You guys good? You guys see what this is actually? Okay. So I'm going to log in really quickly. Alright, go back to ECU, guys. So is everyone seeing? Okay, so this is relatively what you saw a while ago. This is what we have today, which is okay, my chat thing just went away. There. Okay, so this is what basically. So as you see, the steps are still the same. The structure is relatively the same, but Mike has done an amazing job at actually making it way nicer and not as busy as what you saw a while ago. So we've done it. You know, we wanted to keep it clean. The whole thing behind the name Kimple is really quick and simple, and we wanted to make sure that we emphasize that. So I'll just create a position here really quick so I can show you. I can't get to the next steps without at least doing this. Yeah, so then you see on the right side where we originally had we've now kind of gamified it a little bit so people see the progress of where they are and at the different steps of the creating that job posting. We've made some changes in terms of the styling and the buttons and the color, everything. So everything has really taking a turn for the best on that front. So, but a lot of this for Mike would have taken him a lot longer because of if we hadn't done that wireframing for him and gave him that sort of that document that he could work off of, it would take him a lot longer to sort of come up with functionality, styling, and everything else. The other aspect of this that made it, I have no doubt in my, like we built this product literally with one developer so far until like we've hired someone recently, but for the better part of the first 6 months we've built this with one developer, and I think that would have been nearly impossible to build a product of this scale without having a really good wireframe to work off of, because we would have wasted a lot of time trying to figure out what to do next and what's the next logical thing to work on. So there's no downside to having spent the time that we spent to create it in the first place. Any questions so far? Feel free to unmute or chat in the, or post in the group chat. You guys learning anything? Awesome. Thank you, AJ.
Yeah, and what was the wireframing tool?
I'll type it up, but it was OmniGraffle. But I feel there's some better tools that have come out since.
Yeah, I know I use OmniFocus. I was just wondering. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's the same family. So, but there's since then there's Sketch, UXPin, and a couple other ones.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So, what's become my tool of choice in the past year or so for me, just in terms of I never understood how powerful it was Keynote. Keynote has become is actually Google Ventures they kind of live by the fact that they think it's the best prototyping tool in the world. And I've come to agree with that. And just for the fact that it's so simple to utilize, so I'm going to actually share a different screen again. And then after I show you this one, I'm going to get Mike to show you guys what he's done. So I'm going to show you, let's see, perfect. So this is actually our pitch that we had at Launch 36. So during launch, so what happened here is we were pitching in front of an audience of about 300 people that included investors and peers and such. And what we wanted to do is we didn't want to take the risk of doing a live demo because obviously you're in front of 300 people, and as good as technology has come in terms of connectivity, it's still a risky proposition. So what we wanted to do was to simulate. We didn't want to do a video because that's also not always the it's not always the best thing, depending on how powerful the laptop is, and you kind of run into risk of, especially if you have to go out in another presentation. So we created a bit of a simulation directly in Keynote of how the product worked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you basically like how far you can take a simulation, and then I'll show you like some very basic things that you guys can do within Keynote to do some wireframing. So I'm going to jump back into the presentation that I have for you. So do you guys see this? Perfect. I'm going to hit play, so it's going to go full screen on me, so hopefully this will work. I'm going to take 2 seconds here and hit play. So this is what, in the presentation, what we wanted to show was we wanted to show, sorry. Can you guys, someone confirm, because it's full screen on me, so can someone confirm over voice?
No, the camera's back on you. It's not on the application. Not on Keynote.
I don't know if that works so it actually works for you guys. I'm trying to play it without. Yeah, I'll try to just play it within screen. Just one sec. As you can see, I haven't done a lot of these on-screen presentations. Let's see. Okay, I got this.
Eve, you should be able to select the individual application, so just Keynote.
Yeah, I did, but when I hit the play in full screen, I think it kicked me out. I'll try it again. Let me know if it works. I'm gonna try it one again. Is it? Do you still see it?
No, it's back to you.
No, it's black.
Yeah, that's what happened. Every time I hit play on the presentation, it actually does that. Is there any way to?
There's Zoom in the top left.
Yeah. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can actually just kind of show you an example of why wouldn't it not let me play it?
You can save it out as a executable or something. There you go. Save it out as a quick time and play like that.
So, just 1 second, guys. I'm just going to save a. I'll keep talking. And if it doesn't work, I'll just send you guys a link to it so you guys can check it out on your own time. But so what we did is we simulated actually full like actions of like doing mimicking someone entering information in a form, clicking on certain actions and seeing what happens when you click on those actions, sliders. So it is that powerful that you can do those types of movements. So it's exporting, so I'll jump to something else. I'll just show you. So with Keynote, actually it's almost done. That's pretty quick. You guys can edit that, right? I think you guys are saving these videos. You guys can edit the stuff where I look like I'm like an idiot who doesn't know what I'm doing.
No problem.
Just kidding. Let's see. I'm just going to. Hopefully this should work. I'm just gonna. Yeah, I think I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna try sharing a video with you guys now. See if that works. I think my laptop's trying to tell me not to. You guys see this video?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. So it's I'll skip through some parts, but so when we did our pitch at Launch 36, we wanted to show a case study, a case example of how a user would how the program works. So basically, we created the story of Jane who had never hired before and needed to kind of figure out what the steps were for her to. Her boss comes in and asks her to like. They want to hire someone, so she's an admin, and he expects that she's able to do that. She doesn't know where to start, and then she gets into, and then we show a demo of how. There, I'll skip a little bit. So this is a quick crappy login screen we did for the sake of time. So as you can see, and at this part here is we've actually simulated the actions that she can do. So we show that she's typing in and then the pop-up window happens. We'll actually show clicking of different buttons and you'll see that those change colors. There's also, and I'll actually share the original source file with you guys if you want to kind of see what actions were created to make that happen. So you guys can feel free to what I call R&D, rob and duplicate. I have no qualms with that. But as you can see, there's still a certain level of functionality that you can do to show people how it works, even though it's simulated. So this went over really well. Like people thought that this was actually, so there's some more actions here where you'll see her scrolling down the page and then actually clicking on different settings on the right side, and you'll notice that certain actions happen on the left side. I think there's a couple more things that she's going to do, and then yeah. So this was all done in Keynote. It really got the message across of how the application worked, and then so I think I'm good with this. So this is how powerful Keynote can be. Good. Well, you can use my line too, Rob, and duplicate. It's what I call the R&D. So it happens. There's nothing original anymore.
Yves, we have a question here.
Yeah.
Carol is wondering, would you prefer to do that over a live demo?
Depends on the situation. I think if you're in a room that's sort of control, where if something happens, it's not a huge deal. Like actually, that happened to me in Halifax recently, where the hotel connection just kind of went wonky on me, and I basically had to do a song and dance until we could connect back, get things back on track, and tell really bad jokes. So it's really. I say it really depends on the setting. So if you're in a setting where, like, I was on the stage in front of 300 people, so it's the last place that you want to have to entertain the audience because of technical issues. Oftentimes, too, especially if you're in a tech company, like you want to show that you've taken every precaution to avoid any type of situations like that. So. I would just say use common sense. Like if you're doing a one-on-one and something happens during the live demo, like people will be fine, or even a small group. But anything like live presentations like that, definitely simulate it or do a video. Like the video would have been fine too. The reason that we did the slides was because I was presenting and I had sort of a flow that I was going to. So the video was a little bit more, because I could change the slides. Like what you didn't see in that video is each of those interactions, not the interactions itself, but each of the new screens that come up, I control the time of when those come up. So that was my primary reason. If I would have done a video, it would have had to be very rehearsed, and I would have had to kind of go off a script to make sure that I don't sort of go over the time or under or too fast for the video, and then it would have been out of sync. Does that make sense? Sorry for the long babble there.
No, thanks. Perfect.
Okay, cool. So so what I'm going to show you next is just kind of like some basic actions that you can do in to just show you how quickly you can actually build something in Keynote to demo to someone. I'll share my screen again. I'm going to get really good at screen sharing. All right. So I think we're good here. So this is actually I'll share the link with you guys too. But there's you can get a lot of free sort of templates of you can even get them a lot more polished and a lot more style. But this is to show how you can do very basic iterations of your product. So basically, this is mimicking a hand sketch drawing that it allows you to. So if I wanted to utilize this and build a quick mock-up, I could basically grab certain elements of from this, and it's not that slow. But I think I have too many things open. And you can start really just kind of putting your elements together in play like that. So I'll say that this, get this out, grab a button here. It's actually a lot faster when my computer is not acting up. No, I'll put this button here. Was I supposed to do a live demo? I wasn't sure, but I'm going to do a quick one. I'm going to grab a field here. You can actually just do boxes too. Like I can. So what I'll do is here. I'll turn on. That's it. Yeah, I can just grab this and just do. Oh, sorry. Style it this way. Is this a nice design, Mike? Do you like this? It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's say what I typically do is I build the original sort of major mock-up of what it's going to look like. And then I kind of create all the elements that are going to be common across the board. So when you build something, there's some things that are going to change, but there's a lot of those elements that are going to be on most of your screens, and they're going to be you're going to reutilize them. So what I recommend doing is build like the screen that's going to have the most sort of common elements across the board, and then you can actually go in, and once you've built that screen, like I don't know how much time I have, so I don't want to. I can get a little bit more elaborate if you'd like, but basically, once you have all the element, you can just duplicate that slide a whole bunch of times, and then just change certain aspects of it, so you always have those core elements. And so I'll just make this a little bit different here. Yeah, I'll just put a big red circle or something in here. We'll say this is an image. It's beautiful, I know. And say you wanted to be able to say, okay, well, once this is a form, and once they've entered the form, it takes them to a different screen. It's easy as clicking this button here, and then add link, and then say, move it to slide number 4, for example. So when someone actually clicks this button, which you won't be able to see because the full screen thing doesn't work, but this is actually an interaction now where, oh, I got kicked out again. Sorry. There. So basically, as you can see, the little icon there, that shows you that once you actually do the demo and you hit play and it goes full screen, you'll actually it'll actually take you to this other slide, the next one. So there's a whole bunch of things like that you can do, and I'd be happy to do like a full demo of like the most basic actions, the most common actions. So, and data entry, clickable buttons, clickable links. Those are kind of the common things you're going to see. You might want to mimic swipe actions if you're doing mobile apps, but for the most part, it's as basic as drawing boxes, putting them and depending how detailed you want to go. Like a while ago, I showed you our demo, which was quite detailed. In this case, if you're only going to show someone like your designer, for example, what type of actions that you want to have, then you can mimic that really quickly in Keynote. There's a whole lot else. I'll actually follow up too with resources. There's a whole lot of different templates that you can use for mobile apps, for desktop versions, for Windows versus Mac, and you can just work off of those different layout. Like this is kind of a hand sketch OS X theme. So there's, as you can see, there's things for video windows. So you could actually pretend that you could actually make this a clickable link, put a video, load an actual video file up in this area here at the top, and then it would actually mimic that. So that's how it's super simple to use. There's tons of resources out there. I can send you. Google actually has a lot of documentation on how they do prototyping. So it's all done under, and there's some really amazing stuff. Like it looks great. So I'll happily share that with you to help you in your own prototyping. So in terms of, is there anything that you guys would like me to, like, concrete examples that you guys would like me to show you, or are you guys comfortable to kind of just getting at the general idea of how to prototype and what to think about when you're doing it? And so is there anything I didn't cover? Because I'd like to get Mike to show you how he's taken a wireframe that was given to him and how he kind of takes it. So, because I think it's very important that you understand how people use the prototypes, the wireframes. I mean, if you're working with experienced designers, it's great, but sometimes some of them need more information, some of them need more instructions. But it's interesting to understand how your designer's going to get to the end product, because the wireframe is just one of the steps to get to that last. So before I jump into that, is there like anything else that you guys would like me to cover that I may have missed or may have not covered?
Hey, Yves, it's Gavin here.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool if you walked through the mindset a little bit of creating a social network, the wireframe for a social network.
Okay.
And either it's like a simple page, either the login page or the profile page.
Sure.
Choose one of those and just walk through, like, what are you thinking? You were talking a little bit before about how you're thinking about who this user is, right? So let's just say Absolutely. It's a generic consumer social network, and you're gonna use it with friends, right?
Yep.
So how are you thinking about the experience in terms of like where you put the buttons, where you put things on the page? If you're gonna put the profile picture in the top left as an example, why would you put it there? And I think getting some of that thinking across is really important.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I can definitely do that. So when I think that's the project that you guys are working on. I think you're creating a form of social, your own sort of next Facebook. Hopefully, when you guys will we'll hit the lottery on that one and be just as successful. But the main thing when you're designing something like a social network is it's pretty much one of the largest audience that you're going to design for, because you're going to get everyone from, I don't know, maybe 6 years old. I don't know how young people are on Facebook nowadays, but it seems to be, let's say 13 for the age of, I think it's the internet age of consent that's acceptable, up to like people in their 60s and 70s. So how do you design for an audience that's that wide and scattered? So the one thing that before I jump into that, like I'll give you an example of a site. It's a terrible looking site. It's called Indeed.com. But the reason that they've designed it that way is because they wanted to cater to technology limitations and connectivity limitations and browser limitations across the world. So they've really stuck to like the most basics of design. Facebook has done a good job at actually designing something that looks good, but that works on browsers across the board. So the main thing I would do is you want to take that whole audience that you're designing for, and you want to figure out what's the lowest sort of entry level user that you're going to design for, because everybody else will be comfortable with. You can add features that are specific to people with more experience afterwards, sort of advanced features, if you will, or advanced sort of way of navigating certain things. But you want to be able to get that basic user that, you know, is been on the internet for a few months, who's not super comfortable on the computer, to be very comfortable, and that's why our Facebook did a great job. Is they've really made it appealing to people that aren't necessarily that technology driven. So what I can show you is basically the first thing I would do if I was to build a social profile, is I would actually go look at all the other social profiles, and maybe even look at the history of how they've evolved. So if you go back, like, I'm gonna probably date myself here a little bit, and show you why I have gray hair. But like, you know, the first social profiles that I was working on back in the day is things like IRC, which you guys probably, most of you have probably not used, so maybe some of you have. But and then they went on to things like, it's not necessarily a social profile thing, but you know, there's forms of messaging-ish, what's the, like chat rooms, sorry. So chat rooms is kind of like the next sort of evolution in people being social, and then the instant messaging also kind of, so what Facebook, sorry, so not to jump from that to Facebook, but, and then the infamous MySpace came into play, and I actually never had a MySpace account just because I could not tolerate the disgusting design principles behind it. So I just, I never got onto the bandwagon, but what MySpace did is they showed that people like to share things. They should like to share a lot of their personal lives through more than just chat rooms and texting and meeting people, and so Facebook kind of took all of the elements of all of those things combined, and they came and they built what they felt was the ultimate sort of, so all of the best things out of all of those things that I talked to and more. And then so it's important to kind of understand, like, if you see something and you think it's really good, try to find as much information about how they've, you know, there's a lot of documentation. You can find blog posting about, you know, the philosophy behind what they've done. And then there's no shame in sort of picking out what you think are the most, the best elements out of that. So in this case, with a social network, I'm going to jump back on the screen share. The one thing that you want to do is you want to make it as, I'm just going to open a new file. I'm going to close some stuff here. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to close some stuff because I have too many things open, and it's uber slow. You know what? I think I know what's causing it. There we go. By the way, a book that I would highly recommend to you guys is a quote. It's by Nir Eyal. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's check it out on Amazon. It's got some really good case studies of companies like Twitter to show how they've built their evolution over the years in terms of even just a sign-up page, like all the different. Oh, sorry. Is it back? Is the audio back? Cool. Yeah, so I would recommend that book because there's some really interesting examples that that you can look at. One of them is how Twitter's homepage has evolved over the years, and it's interesting to see some of the decisions of why it's evolved. So there's some great case studies for you guys. Yeah. You ask them if the people are actually downloading stuff right now. Because I'm not. My connection's bad. Yeah. I don't know why.
Are you still on the call?
Yeah, I am. All right. Can you guys? So sorry. I'm a little bit worried that my internet's perfect. Okay. So when you would start to build something like that, like a login page or a profile page, there's going to be things you want to take into consideration. There's kind of a rule of thumb that's been around for the longest time. Is basically the human, like our eyes tend to go left to right and then up down. So the reason that oftentimes like most good products or most always have their logos on the top left, and then from there they kind of build from left to right and then top left going downwards. So that's something that's been around when I first started designing 10, 12 years ago, and it's still the case today. So you'll notice that most of your products, most of the sites that you go on, that's still the case today. And then usually what happens is they get the messaging, what the initial messaging is. I'm going to share just one here just to kind of explain a little bit. Is it? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to share this right now. Sorry, guys. Share it. Coming. There you go. So you guys may have seen this site before, Twitter. As you can see, they've kept it very simple. What they've noticed over the years is that, so the first thing is you see like the messaging, like what's the value proposition. So you see the logo, and Twitter's in a fortunate position that you can get away with just a tiny little bird now. For us, we're not at that stage yet, so it's important to kind of spell out the logo. But it is in the top left, and then you have things like the language selection, which is kind of just a utility menu that's typically in the top right. Doesn't take a lot of room. And then on the left side, because your eyes are going to go from left to right, so first thing it's the first time that you go on the site, you're going to read, what their value proposition is. And if you've been through it before, you're just going to kind of skip right to the login page. So they've really simplified what those call to actions are. And the call to actions on the homepage is probably one of the most critical things that you guys can have. Is basically, if they don't know where they're supposed to go, they're just going to go away. Like I believe that the rule of thumb now is like if people aren't hooked by like the first 3 seconds, if I remember correctly, it used to be like 15 seconds, and now it's like 8 seconds. And I think our attention span is down to like 3 seconds, which is really ridiculous when you think about it. But they've also, one thing that you'll notice is they've also, because most people actually, because they've had such a big audience, that the priority to them was to actually make the login at the top right and then the sign up underneath, versus what you see sometimes when companies are starting out. It's going to be the opposite. The sign up is going to be their primary thing because they're trying to build users and they're trying to get as many people using their product as possible. So they want that to be their first, the first thing that they're going to move to. So typically, when companies are, a lot of times when they're just starting out, you may see these reverse. You may see like the sign up moved up a step and then the login moved down underneath it. Or you may even see a small login button in the top right. But Twitter's at the point now where they probably analyze their data on their homepage and realize that most people that go on the homepage, actually more people actually logging in than signing up. So the other thing that you'll notice is it's very simple. It's they don't ask for a lot of information. I think when you're at the things that we've seen over the years is that companies now they want to get you through the product as soon as possible because, again, you're competing for people's attention, you're competing for dollars, you're competing for their time. So basically, they simplify it to like full name, email, password, and we've moved to that sort of level of, because you can always capture, once you've got them using your product, you can slowly start capturing more information later on. So you can, Facebook does a great job at that. They'll passively ask you, what are your favorite movies or what type of music are you into? They'll say, hey, where's the last place that you worked at? LinkedIn does a great job at that too, but they don't make it in a way that it's intrusive. They kind of just, it's very passive. So again, the homepage is probably the primary thing that you want to do. So if I was to look at building something, those are the principles that I would try to keep in mind when I'm designing that homepage. So I'm going to jump back into Keynote. Yeah, that's a good point, Gavin. I just saw what you posted there. What do you think about the no password? No. Yeah, I agree with Gavin on that one. That's also a trend that's been happening, is that the confirmed password is being removed more and more. That's the level of, that's how like people, the level of effort that people want to make to get into something nowadays. They basically, as quickly as, there's actually some sites that only ask for email now. They don't even want to know who you are. They figured you'll tell them if you actually like the product. But basically, people just want to get you in there. It's like a car, someone selling you a car, like, they just want you to sit in the car, take it for a drive, and then they'll tell you about, what type of engine it's got, what type of fuel mileage, because they don't want you to think about fuel mileage before you actually take it for a spin, because they want you to fall in love with the car, and then they tell you about all the fine print related to that car. So think of it, that would be my analogy of the login page. It's a dirty used car salesman. It's kind of what I would equate it to.
That's a nice way to think about it. I actually have to sign off now, so I'm going to watch the rest of the recording later. But I think these types of things are exactly what we wanted to get into, like the sign up page and the type of questions like Matt's asking now. It's like, well, can I combine the login with the sign up? And it's like, well, maybe that will be less elements on the page, but maybe it's going to confuse the user. And can I get rid of confirm password because that's one less element? And like, there's just, you can spend a lot of time on your sign up page, and I think you should. And then, you know, ultimately you need to get it into the hands of users and try some things out and make sure they're not being confused by it, right?
Absolutely. And the thing about the sign up page that I met with the product manager at Shopify a few weeks ago, and like there's no, companies need more than one sign up page today because messaging is different, especially when you're building that initial user base. Like you're trying to have different messages that cater to different audiences. You don't want all those messages on one page because you're going to confuse people. You want to stick to like the very the very basic like value proposition and call to actions. And so Shopify actually has 1,000 landing pages for their products. So depending how users found them, depending how they found them on Google using certain type of search terms, they're actually going to get a very tailored landing page. I don't know how they manage 3,000 landing pages, but that's not something that I'm looking forward to. Like, but most don't try to cram everything. Instead of trying to put too much on the front page, focus on creating more than one page, and then you can test, how people react to those different the different messaging, and then eventually you'll crack. What I call cracking the code is you'll actually you'll get the type of messaging and the type of flow, user flow that engages client users and that converts them into actual potential paying clients or just general users of your product. So I can still give you a quick demo, but of how that would work if you guys want. Do you guys want me to just kind of build a quick one pager and show you like basically how you would go about to building this in Keynote? I can probably do it in like 10 minutes max if you guys want to, or would you guys rather I can show you how Mike, our designer, takes a wireframe from that's been created for him and how he gets it to the next level, I guess. It's up to you. How much time do I have? I just want to, that's the one part I wasn't 100% sure.
I think we have about 20 minutes left.
Okay. So, with the example that I showed you guys with Twitter, are you guys comfortable with like seeing how that, like the thinking behind like the landing page and things along that line? Or do you guys want me to build something out for you?
I think we could try and mock that up in Keynote or Sketch or something like that.
You want me to try doing that?
No, I think we could.
Okay.
If we kind of see how it goes to the next, how you hand off the wireframe.
Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get those files for Mike here, and I'm going to get. I'll be Mike's personal Vanna White and our assistant, and then he can kind of go over which one you want to show, Mike. I got the presentation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Screen share. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. 10 minutes on the newsfeed would be cool if there's only 20 minutes. I think that's the goal. Do you want to maybe, like Matt's asking how we would design a newsfeed for a site, like a social site, what you would think of how you would build it out, or do you want to? Okay. Let me just, so Matt, sorry. Mac might. How easy interface is. So the thing about the newsfeed is it's actually common. The reason that your newsfeed has become such a and that's why you want to actually read the book Hooked, because they talk about it's a habit forming thing where you want to trigger the type of information that gets people to go back. So there's a lot of people that go on Facebook just the newsfeed. They've done such a great job at people being able to continuously have a pulse of what's going on around them. So I think it's still evolving. I'm not sure that they've done some experimentation on that front with the whole timelines especially on Facebook. Twitter has a form of newsfeed as well. I guess I wouldn't even call it a newsfeed. I just called it feed. Like that's been there's a lot of applications that also are building in feeds now, because what they do is the reason for the feed is it increases usage. So instead of just using it when you need to do something specific, for example, we're actually going to build a newsfeed in our application because we actually want HR managers or the people that are doing the hiring to see what's happening. So the newsfeed will be like, okay, you get 5 applications at this time. This is a great candidate. Somebody else in your company added comments, so you can get a quick glimpse of everything that's happened and sort of not miss anything. But it's really a habit-forming type of, and I don't know that we'll have enough time to get into it. I'd really like, Mike's been sitting beside me, so I'd really like to get him to show you like something that I think you guys will really enjoy. And then I'd be happy to, if you want to do a separate Google Hangout with just any one of you guys, if you want to do a separate hangout in the next week or so, I'd be happy to do that with you on a different occasion. That's cool. If you're okay with that. But I'd like to, just because Mike's been here and he's got some really cool stuff I think you guys will enjoy, I'm actually going to get Mike to talk to you a little bit about what he. Can I tell you that? Can I tell them what companies you design for? I'm gonna. Yeah, you want me to show your Behance? Right?
Yeah, I'll do the intro of that.
Introduce you guys to Mike. Mike is probably, in my opinion, he's Moncton's like best kept secret on the design side of things. I don't know how we've been fortunate to land him, but he works from our stuff to the example he's going to show you, which is Indiegogo, to he designed the Tesla website. He just did some work for Apple. So this is his portfolio that you can have a look at to just give you an idea of the quality of the work he produces. You'll see a lot of big brand names in there, and this is actually done from this guy who's going to show you. So I think you'll enjoy this. You want me to show you this one?
Yeah, I guess so Yves asked me last minute if I would want to join him and kind of show you guys kind of like a day in the life of a designer and how process when you start a project. So I said yes. After my 3rd beer, so hopefully stuff from this. I'm not prepared, so I'm just going to wing it really quickly. So I guess one example I'd love to share with you regarding the process was my experience working with Indiegogo. They're a crowdfunding application out in San Francisco, so they're kind of like Kickstarter's.
No, it's not. It's not.
Very good.
So for people who don't know what they're basically like Kickstarter's competition. They're both great sites. And one day I was driving on Mount Road, for an acupuncture, going to my acupuncture place appointment, and I got a call from a good friend of mine who works at Push Offices out in Los Angeles. Me and Nikolai are really good friends. We worked together. I used to live down there. We did a lot of work at different agencies, and he asked me, "Hey, Mike, I got a really cool project. You might be interested. We're redesigning and rebranding Indiegogo." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take it on." So basically, the way we kickstarted the project was, first we needed to rebrand. So rebrand their logo, rebrand their typography, just kind of come up with a style book before we do any work on the website. And this is not the right document. Actually, if you can pull up, there's another document up in right, branding guidelines. So this is the branding guidelines that we came up with.
To share it.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, it's alright. Just give me a sec. Probably we're gonna get really good at sharing documents soon. All right.
So the branding guideline, this is basically what a typical, high-level branding guideline would look if you work on one. So we came up with different different stuff. I guess like the whole concept was we wanted to kind of incorporate the community and blend it in with the logo. So the logo is indie, which has a background of a picture, and these pictures are anything. It could be anything, anybody's projects that were up on Indiegogo. And GoGo, we went with a white background. So it's kind of it was a good idea. They really liked it. Identity guidelines, so table of contents. This is going to show you like page 10 the logo, how to use it, do's and don'ts, color type imagery, secondary graphic, visual language. So basically everything in here is kind of like a cookbook for whoever else is going to tackle the website or their brand later down the road, and they have to kind of obey this document. Design principles, campaigns first. The campaigns are what matter. Find ways to feature them. So that's the whole concept of using imagery of squares of actual people that are posting stuff and projects up on Indiegogo. Authentic, ownable color, iconic. Okay, here. So here's a logo that the new logo that we came up with. These are showing like different variations, different color palettes, how it works with different imagery in the background. It's really cool. I mean, I really like this concept. It came out really nice, and the client loves it. It's original. It's much better. It's much better from what they had before. Just typical step-by-step stuff on how to use it, how to place it over imagery, that kind of stuff. There's also an Indiegogo logo if you're not going to use a background image, which is basically just a vector outline of a square. I'm just going through this pretty quickly. It's a big document. Background do's, background don'ts. That's pretty typical of a branding guideline. So whoever is going to do the site or work in the site 6 months down the road, they have to go through this and know what to do and what not to do. That's a color palette we came up with. They signed off on it. The fonts, we came up with Anthena for the main font, and Benton Sand was the text font. So a lot of preparation in advance before working on the website. Example of how to headline, subhead, copy. So we came up with the website UI elements like the buttons in advance, which it's a good practice to do.
Sure, skip back and forth just in case people ask questions.
Oh.
Oh, that's good.
We came up with the icon design language. So I mean, if you go through this, like everything seems like everything belongs together. It syncs well with the logo, like the buttons. You can tell are syncing well with the logo. So there's like a consistency across everything. It took a while to get this done. A lot of revisions, a lot of back and forth, and this is basically like the final document that we came up with. How to frame the logo if you're going to use a wide background imagery. Again, like it needs to be cropped right. Facebook profile examples of how we could, use a brand. Type on the website, and that's it. So once we finished this, then we started doing the wireframing, which is very important. And are they able to see this?
I think we might have to share it again. Yeah. We do it this way so you don't share things you're not supposed to. It's the style of that. Yeah. It's just, yeah, perfect.
So like for any web project, a wireframe is like super, super important. Otherwise, a lot of designers are kind of left in the dark and they don't know how to start or where to begin. And I mean, a lot of places that you're going to work at, usually you have the luxury of these places will have people dedicated to wireframing 8 hours a day. So their main UX people, all they do is wireframe. They're really good at it. A lot of big agencies have like dozens of them. You have your wireframe people, you have your art directors, you have your designers, you have your creative directors. So usually the wireframe people are the first ones on the project. So no design starts until the wireframing is done, and there's a lot of revisions. There's a lot of back and forth to get the wireframes to in tip-top shape before handing it off to the art director. And so for the Indigo, this is a basic. This was like the basic UX document that we came up with for the client. This was the final one. And some have a lot of details, some don't. A lot of UX documents, people like to write overviews and just little stuff like descriptions of how stuff works. And some are very high levels. It doesn't matter as long as like you'll notice a lot of different UX people work differently. And I think we worked in UX to make these wireframes. Okay, so this is a wireframe of the homepage. And a lot of people like to do 1.0 because a lot of times the wireframes change. So over time there'll be 2.0, 3.0, and sometimes revisions and wires get to like 12 or 13.0. So it's a good way to kind of keep track of changes and what's been changed, what hasn't, and what's the right current document. This is the homepage wireframe that we worked on. So, logo, came up with the navigation, signing up, login, making sure everything is there visually for the designer so he knows what he's designing for. Promotional imagery, so this is kind of showing it's going to be a carousel, with your typical arrows. You can kind of cycle back and forth. And we wanted to do kind of like a grid of like the different offerings that Indigo has, a gaming, design, technology, film, music, nonprofit. So this is more like a design kind of grid option to make it look nice and cool and different. I'll show you the final designs after, but so for music, 500 projects, 13 genders, going viral, Gadget Mania, 67 new projects. So it's kind of like a fun way of describing like what's going on at the moment on the Indigo site. And then we came up with the categories here below, which is pretty straightforward. And then you have your cards of people trying to raise money on here. And this is also a carousel. So you can go through the carousel. It's kind of like features, and you have your different categories up top here.
Skip back and forth. Yeah. Still, guys are awesome.
And obviously, diverse icons. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's a really big homepage, and so there's a lot of work that was involved in this. So I mean, you can probably see like if you don't have a wireframe before you start a project, I mean, a designer is going to have a hard time. It's just going to take longer trying to figure all this out. So it's nice to have people do this for you beforehand, so that you have a nice blueprint. and you know what you're designing for, and it's the less stress, right? So everybody kind of focuses on their strengths. So the UX people are good at what they do, and designers are good at what we do. So it's, a lot of it's teamwork, and I can't stress enough, teamwork is probably the most important thing that, will happen in your career if you get to work with a team.
Especially in a startup environment.
Oh, yeah. You can't do everything yourself. So, yeah, so this is a typical wireframe. Top modules, again, just going into detail on what these top modules will be. Showing 1, 2, 3, campaign collection, campaign detail. Here's one with, start your tech campaign. You can start right off the bat. I don't think we used that. We never ended up designing this one. Universal UI elements, header and logged out. So it's kind of showing different states. If you're signed in, you're logged in, or you're not. Showing rollovers. How it works. So these are all different rollovers for different sections, which is important. Logged out search. If I'm not going too fast here.
That's good. More universal elements.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. So I was ready before I started, which was great. So after going through these wires, and the wires were all signed off and ready to go, and the client was happy, then the project it got thrown in my lap. So Mike, you got to start design. So I used this to come up with. So if you want to pull up the designs.
Yeah. Just want to make sure no one asks any questions as well. Yeah. 1 or 2.
That doesn't matter.
Which there's a bunch of them. So.
Actually, you can show these like as a slideshow.
Maybe. Let's see.
Can you show it?
I might be able to. Just 1 second.
I think if you right click on the phone, right click.
With preview, and then you can go back and forth.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that works.
You want to start with this one?
That's fine.
View full screen. I think we should be able to go back and forth here. Yeah, and Command plus.
Can you see full screen?
We're going to find out. All right, so we'll see if we can actually make this work full screen for you guys. And then if someone can...
We have your video feed again.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the to preview. Just 1 sec. Okay. Got to close a few things here because I'm not sure which window is which anymore. Close Keynote. So. I'm gonna attempt going full screen. Can someone let me know if it's actually gonna still? I'm not sure if it.
Yeah, we got it.
You still have it?
We did till you zoomed.
And okay, we'll just show you. Yeah, we'll just show you what it is. All right. Okay, we're this should work now. You guys see that?
Yep.
Cool.
Cool. So based off the wireframes, this is the final product, and obviously, these designs went through a lot of rounds of revisions, which is also important. So brace revisions because it only makes the end product better. Don't be stubborn, and check your ego at the door. So revisions is your friend. So we may have probably went through, I'd say, probably 20 revisions on off. It was weeks and weeks of revisions, but it came out nice. And the stuff that I'm just showing you this homepage, but I'm showing you the grid. I like to keep my grid layer on in Photoshop sometimes, just to try to follow it as best as I can. So every time you do a design, please use a grid. If you need a grid, always use a grid. And this is a typical grid that I like to use on a lot of my designs. And yeah, so you have the top navigation, the logo. Here's the typical carousel that we came up with. Then this is a nice, cool little gritty design that we did for the different categories, for featured categories. And then you have your cards, which is a carousel as well. So it's a long scrolling page, which seems to be like the trend these days. The video, more stuff. That's the home. This was for this is the page that we came up for to explore what's going on with the activity up on Indiegogo. So again, like if you notice, like a lot of this stuff is like I first showed you the style guide at the start, like the logos and the typography, imagery, and iconography. So when I was in the fonts, it's all stuff that I was using based off the style guide that we came up at the very beginning of the site. So we were really things were really well prepared going into design because we had our style guide, we had our wireframes. So there wasn't a lot of guessing. So I knew which typeface to work with, which sub-typeface to work with. I already had my icons to work with. My color palette, it was great. It was awesome. We even did some wireframes for the card, so I knew what size and what was going on here. It just made life a lot easier. So you just slap a grid in Photoshop, open your wireframes and your style guide, and then start creating.
Similar.
Yeah, similar.
That's really similar. Without the grid.
Yeah, it's a homepage without the grid. This is kind of showing the drop-down search functionality that we also had designed. So I mean, obviously we had to design everything from drop-downs to rollovers, and yeah, it was cool.
And that's still the design that's up there now, right?
It's up there now, but like a lot of clients, when you give your designs to them, some will not necessarily ruin it, but it looks a little different up there now because I mean they took it over in house in their offices, and a lot of consistencies have been changed, and it happens. But I mean, these initial comps came out great.
So I think that kind of shows how preparing up front really, and it's really important, especially if you guys are going to get into startup if you're planning on starting your own company, if you're planning on building a product. I think there's not enough that can be done up front. Like you have to really spend a lot of time doing that, because the thing about us as a company, we're in a very crowded space. Like our company is in the HR technology space, which is a great. We feel it's a great space to be in, but it's also pretty challenging to stand out. And having a great product that people are going to gravitate towards, and that you're going to be able to get conversions up, gives you a fighting chance right out of the gate. I've basically been able to get into client meetings, investor meetings, based on how good our product looks, without even people trying it. So when you build a good product, people, that's a question mark that they don't need to worry about, because they know that you can actually. It's always one of the questions: is your team able to build build this product. Like and if you can do that, then that's one less things that investors or clients have to worry about. So it's important to do a good first impression, I guess. And planning is going to help.
What's everybody do? Is everybody a designer or what?
I don't know.
Course?
It's a little bit of everything. It's like, yeah, actually, so are you guys all like developers or just kind of like learning a little bit of everything to figure out what you're going to be? That would have been a good question to ask. You guys still there? Developers. There you go. Swiss Army Startup Founders. I like that. Cool. Do you guys, so I know we probably went a little bit over the allocated time, but do you guys have any questions? This was kind of the first time doing one of these sessions for us, so hopefully it was useful to you guys. Hopefully you learned a few things. I'll follow up with some links to recommended tools, resources that you guys can read up on, books and stuff, and then you guys can feel free to want to have any questions, be happy to help you. And I'm sure Mike will be happy to help you guys out. I'm not sure that he'll design your stuff, but he'll help you out if you have any questions. All right, so cool. Well, look, if there's no questions, we're gonna get back to work. But if you have any questions, I guess last call for questions. Last call for, and I'll take you up on that pint for sure. So if you're in Moncton, come. We actually have some beer in the office, so we'll I think we have 2 beers left actually. So cool. Well, look, last chance if you have any questions, and if not, then we'll talk in some other time. So good. Cool. No problem. Thanks, everyone. So have a good one, and we'll best of luck to you guys. Take care.
Thanks. See ya. Boom.